Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of How to Harad. We are playing 4th Age Total War Dominion of Men, and we are being attacked by an army of Farhad. This is an enemy that we've been at war with for a little while. We are in the operation phase of grinding them down to hopefully become our Protectorate in this episode. That is the goal, and as part of that, we can take a look at the campaign map here for a little while. We have moved into their territory, so this is one of their central settlements, Anorlith. And we've extended our army into that, and so they're bringing as many forces as they can to bear, although this army here is not going to be part of this fight. In the west, their territory that is bordering us the most, this one we've had under siege for quite some time, and this is about to fall in 3 or so turns. And otherwise, they have a pretty extensive set of territories to the east. I think they've got, well, 3 more. One of these, though, is the real prize. This is their capital. So we will have to, we'll have to take these other 2 and then move on here. But because they've expanded into the north, they're also able to threaten us along this part of our border. So we have a large force coming in, probably to attack this army this turn as well. But this battle here is not going to get us the settlement. We can take a look at the armies, though, and if you compare it to what we have, it looks like we're going to do quite well. Now, we can just see the settlement off in the distance there, which is a nice touch, but unfortunately, we will not be able to take it this turn because the garrison is not going to be part of this battle. They're going to stay right inside the settlement, and so we will have to take that in some other maneuver. So on this side here, our left wing, we've got our Scarlet Shields right out front. Very intimidating unit with a fear effect. Backing them up, very nice charge bonus from these Horsemen of the Harnan, another quite solid unit, and backing them up, Harad riders, basically to chase down routers and deal with light troops. I've got them grouped up here. I'm not sure that's the best maneuver, actually, because that's going to allow them to each choose their own targets, which may not be ideal. In our lines, we've basically got skirmishers out front. We've got our infantry back, and then the cavalry, or archers rather, behind that. And that should do a pretty good job of keeping the cavalry off of us. So here comes the enemy. Let's charge in with our heavy cav against their Harad riders here. Actually, let's go with all of them. We'll just go right up the left here and see how this works out. We're just going to munch through that unit. Okay, so they've got some desert footmen who are, yeah, they're going to rout immediately. Our left is doing excellent. Let's bring in the general. Our right, of course, is not doing quite as well. We'll throw in the Corsair units here, but we've got swords against spears. This should ultimately work out just fine. There they go. Very satisfying quick battle. Now, we've got a couple of other units that are reinforcements that look like they are retreating off of the battlefield, so I think we'll just clean this up and get back to the campaign map. So no other attacks from Farhad on their turn, although it looks like they're bringing this army over in this direction. I was kind of surprised they didn't attack me here, but I guess they're trying to save the settlement here. They see what's coming. So I think I will go ahead and put Anorlith under siege. We're going to go ahead and build a bunch of rams, and inside they've got a decent mix. They've got the air, and they've got some swords, some better units, so this is probably one that we're going to want to let fall or let another army attack us. But I'd rather it not be a big army, so let's see if we can get rid of some of the pressure here. Ah, yes, and we have spawned another Mumek unit. So in the previous episode, we had lost one of them, but we have since acquired a new one through mysterious magic, I have to assume. So that's very nice. We've got our 2 elephants. So we'll back them up with all these bodyguard units. And probably the Horsemen of the Harn. We'll keep all of these cav units together, essentially. And we've got our skirmishers in front, our archers behind. We've got just 1 sword unit, and then we've got Corsairs of Umbar. So again, this is a very strange battle. We are on the attack, though, so we'll just go kind of straight forward here. And I think we want to just smash our cav around the right. That'll give us actually the high ground to swoop down. And then for the rest of it, it'll mostly be sort of holding them back with our limited infantry while we skirmish and wait for the cav to deal with it. Alright, so we're close enough to draw attention from their archers, and their archers look like they are interested in our Mumakil, so I think we'll run our bodyguards up a little bit, be a little more aggressive with them. And same thing with our skirmishers. Let's run these guys forward, kind of get their attention here. and focus on their archers since we can hit them with all of ours. Alright, let's hit these swords, I think. We'll try to hit them with everybody at once, more or less. I think this is going to work out. Yeah, they're routing. So, not the best charge for us. But it doesn't matter. Now, I just heard the flee order. So it's probably time to bring our general in here. We'll just try to deal with as many of these units as we possibly can while they flee. Alright, and that army has been eliminated, so that means we don't have to worry about reinforcements, or at least a big reinforcing army coming to cause trouble for our siege. Now, I wouldn't mind if the army inside the settlement were to do a sally, and maybe they will in the next couple of turns. That'd be a relatively quick way for us to get the settlement, I think. But we do have some other forces coming in to support. Again, this is their capital, Athencaris, and so this is where they're going to train some of their best units. Although Farhad does have one of those relatively shallow rosters. I think they only get 3 tiers of military development, and at the top you'll find stuff like their champions of Farhad, I believe they are. The big guys with the two-handed sort of chopping swords, but basically no armor. So they're a scary unit, but very situational. So now we've got all these armies freed up, and so I guess this would be a good time for us to talk about the campaign as a whole and what we've been doing. Of course, in the last episode, we made Harandar our Protectorate. And of course, that is still the case, still going strong. We are overlord of this faction, and they've been giving us, you know, a little bit of cash. Of course, being now a landlocked faction with not really a lot of development, they're not producing as much money as they would if they had some sea coast property. And maybe we'll rectify that eventually, but for now, I'm just happy to have them here, basically blocking us from the attention of, say, Adunabar. Otherwise, we've been diligently watching the coasts because we do have, as you can see, the Reunited Kingdom getting guys onto ships and getting guys near ships. So in this fleet, they've got, you know, some light forces, but they've got more lining up ready to board. And they do have occasionally these small boats that will pop out, and we have to do our best to deal with those. So it's an average victory. What that's going to do, of course, is send those fleets elsewhere, and this is why we've kept our other boats stationed at various points, because we know roughly where the boats are going to go once we, you know, sort of defeat them. And there you go. So you have to have fleets stationed, you know, kind of outside of each other's reach. Otherwise, you know, if they get a ship out of the port here, they could take Harlorn, this settlement, which is why we haven't really bothered with it in terms of developing even the Dominion building for it. We instead have been developing Dominions in Harandor, and so it's probably time to work on this. We can go ahead and get rid of our the local Dominion building there and start provincial pacification on this coastland. That'll help our income a little bit more. Our income has been okay, not fantastic, but part of that is we have a pretty big military. And the military that we're using now to fight Farhad is basically the same military we used to bully Harandor into submission. And so that's the nice thing about getting a protectorate, because you don't have to worry about stationing troops on that border anymore, essentially. So we're bringing all these guys down into the east and into the south. I think I'm going to keep these reinforcements right here on the border just in case we need to send them around somewhere else. And in the last episode, the other thing we did was grabbed Parchereb from Khand. And so we're working on our Dominion building there and keeping the army here just in the area, because periodically Khand will send some troops around in an attempt to try to take it back. With this army, I think we're going to head down to the capital. We're just going to try to pour all of our forces more or less directly at Farhad. But this army, we need some sort of teching up. And so I think what I want to do is get rid of some of these skirmish units. We'll just kind of combine those. And we're going to replace that with some swords. So we've got a couple trained up here. I'm just kind of keep slowly moving this army down in this direction. I may also want to swap out these Corsairs of Umbar because they're not doing a lot of good with just 22 men. Now, they may get bribed on the way back to Umbar, but I'm not too concerned about it. So we'll keep training some swords, retrain those skirmishers, and then we'll send these guys down, and I think we'll have a pretty decent job of it. Elsewhere, I've noticed that the Reunited Kingdom and Rohan have been doing fairly well fighting Adunabar. The only Adunabar presence left in Ithilien is Emin Arnon, and that, of course, is this South Ithilien province. They haven't gone after it yet, but the Reunited Kingdom has taken back Caer Andros, they've taken Minas Ithil, they've taken Daggerlad, they've taken the Moranons, so they're doing quite well. And Rohan has taken Anorion from Adunabar, which is fairly typical, and they may now be turning their attention to Dunland, although they haven't made a lot of progress in this front, thankfully. The last thing I want to see is a gigantic Rohan doing extremely well, because they are a oddly difficult faction to deal with as Harad. The ultimate goal for Khand is just to get them off of our border. We may make them a protectorate at some late date, but for now I'm just holding back from them, and I'm planning on focusing on Farhad. What we ultimately do with Khand will probably be relatively inconsequential. I may take some of their territory and gift it to Farhad once we make them our protectorate. At least that's the plan. But even if Farhad is not our protectorate, we could wall off Khand and then get our ceasefire, because then they would not be in a position to really attack us. And you know, actually, maybe this is a pretty good time to attempt to resolve our Khand border problem, because right now they're harassing me around Parchereb. In between episodes, I've had to fight a few, not sieges, but they've besieged Parchereb, and I've been obliged to kick them out of my territory. But now if I move right up here, let's say, and I attack this army, they may want to stick around and fight this time. So this is a bit of a weird one. The army that we're attacking has set up way to our left, and the garrison, that is the reinforcements, are way to our right. You can see the city in the distance there. So I'm going to go right after the garrison army. I'm going to march straight for it and ignore these guys. That may not be the best move, because the AI may sense what's up, and these guys may just turn and retreat. On the other hand, this army that we're going towards contains the faction leader, and so I'm much more interested to take him out than I am to take out a few horse archers and axemen on the hill over there. And it looks like the main army we are attacking is coming down off the hill, so they may be coming into support, which would be nice. We want to eliminate both armies completely if we want to take the settlement, but if nothing else, I want to at least take care of this Dragon Shield Riders unit. And we're doing fairly well with these step-out riders. Got them down to 23 men. They're still around, but it may be time for me to switch targets. If we can do some damage to the Dragon Guard, that would, of course, make my life a lot easier. Starting to see some attacking of the infantry. Let's get my own cav out of there if we can. Alright, he did not do a good charge, but this is a scary unit, so we may have some problems. Let's bring in our cavalry. I want everyone to sort of stand and fight at this moment. 46, 44. Alright, let's get the cav out and switch horse archer targets back to their horse archers. We're going to have this other army to deal with in a minute. 28 men, evenly matched. Let's pull out. Alright, let's send in the Swordings too, because they are decent. Get my general out of there. Alright, I think we can chase down their archers with our horse archers. Doesn't look like they're even attacking us. They may just be withdrawing, actually. Down to 11 men, though, so this may be the time to charge in and try to take out the king. Down to 6, 5. I think the Swordings are going to do quite well. We've got their archers on the run. All right, great. We took out the enemy ruler. Just those horse archers left, but I'm not concerned about them at all. I am concerned about this because we've got a bunch more horse archers. So we're going to switch to skirmish here. And not quite sure how to deal with this army all of a sudden. I think we need to get our own forces in. Actually, let's just focus fire everything. They're going to charge in, but you know what? If we get a bunch of arrows in their face, that's going to do a lot. Great. All right, let's ignore them and now switch targets. Go after those nomadic watchmen, please. Bring these archers back over here. It looks like the steppe outriders are going to be targeting, my archers over there, and that's the captain, actually. All right, get back. $57 men, so I'm not sure how this fight's going to go. Horse archers versus horse archers is always a weird sort of melee situation. We've got him down almost entirely to infantry. All right, 35, 21. I think, okay, we got this. That unit looks like it's withdrawing, and that could ruin our taking of the settlement. He's actually not withdrawing. Okay, all of our skirmishers are running after that horse archer unit, which is actually not bad because I do want to make sure we get him out of the way. Okay, and there goes the enemy captain. Alright, I think we got to run in our general here. These units are wavering. So with the Serpent Black hitting them, I'm thinking they may rout. Yep. And are we going to be able to hit the steppe outriders and do what we need to do? Yes, we are. 83%. I think we may kill enough men here to technically win the city. It is a question of whether we're going to have movement points to move in, however. Okay, a glorious victory, but can we take the settlement? Look at the movement points there. Now, one thing we can do is take units out. I'm a little concerned that we may just not quite have enough movement points. So let's move the cavalry over. Boom. Lay desolate. And now we can move everybody in. Now, that may not have been necessary, but I have been burned before. So I think that was a good move. All right, we've got Alec Rokben now, and so this means we can now develop Parchereb in peace, and of course this is our new frontier. And so if we take a look at our military development possibilities, we can see what we're going to get. Nomadic Watchman levies at Tier 1, and a bunch of stuff at Tier 2. We've got Steppe Outrider levies, which is the horse archers, so that's Tier 2, and then we also get a couple of native units, Footmen of Harad and Plainsmen Skirmishers. Nothing too fantastic there, but it's a good augur of things to come, because at Tier 3, Swords of Harad and Herodwaith Riders, and at Tier 4, Spearmen of the Serpent, Archers of Harad, Horsemen of the Harnan. So really, really good stuff. Now that's if we develop it militarily. If we go for an administrative policy or a financial policy here, we will not be able to get above Tier 2. But Tier 2 is really good. Steppe Outrider levies are our own units, 56 men per unit of horse archers with low upkeep, and that's going to be a sort of a much better cost effectiveness rate than what we currently get in the mercenaries. But maybe what we'll do is we'll start moving our emissaries just onward and upward into the regions of the east. We have been approached by Rune recently, and they've been asking for trade rights. I've rejected that because we don't share a border with them, and it just seems not to be beneficial. But maybe at some point it will, and although Rune is the ally of Khand currently, I wonder if they would be open to an alliance at some point. So, for example, we could accept a ceasefire with Khand, get alliance with Rune, immediately attack Khand, and have Rune side with us. Keep our overlordship, keep a new ally. We don't have any allies currently. And basically just push Khand around, strip them of their allies, and maybe make them more open to, future ceasefires, future protectorates, that type of thing. All right, we do have a threat and opportunity at the moment. Looking at the fleets here, we can see that there's this kind of weird formation where we've got one fleet that's completely inside the port and another that is sort of sticking out. That means we can attack this one. And this one has a lot of ships and a lot of men, including some men-at-arms and some Dol Amroth men-at-arms. So some very good stuff that could do us a lot of damage. They could easily take Harlorn and could even take some settlements along the coast. So I want to deal with this threat as quickly as I can. Now we've got 2 Marauders and a couple of Dromans. Let's see what the balance of power looks like there. Not good. So we're going to pull back and see what other ships I have in the region. These guys are actually kind of stuck because we've got a fleet there. I could bring this over, but this is just a very minor sort of transport ship more than anything else. And I think a lot of my other boats are just too far away. So we're going to have to bring this in and hope for the best. It's a little more balanced. Let's see how it goes. Average victory. All right. Very nice. Now, this is the one to watch for. They are outside of the port now, and that means that they can land pretty much anywhere they want. So it looks like they're going right there. And then we've got this other minor fleet, which we don't care about. Okay, 28 men in the new Miramar, 13 in this one, and then 37 in the Palaran. Here we've got a Marauder, so let's bring that around. Oof. Okay, clear victory. Where are they going to go? Good, up to Dol Amroth. And we can get there. We've got a Dromond. Just 24 men. And this is a new Miramar, so that's their weakest ship. All right, it's still kicking. And it looks like it's back here, so we can send our Marauders back to hit it. 12 men, that should be the end of that. Beautiful. So we've taken out like 3/4 of a stack of the Reunited Kingdom. And we've got our fleet still intact for the most part. I may run some of these guys down to get retrained, or alternatively, just train some more Marauders. It's not that expensive to keep them, in the field, so to speak. All right, and with that, Adabara Falls, we've just had this under siege for quite a few turns, and they didn't put up a fight. So we can occupy this. This is the closest of Farhad settlement to our capital, and so we won't suffer too much unrest here. And now we've got a new army free to move wherever we want. So we've got a suitable husband offer, competent at both commanding and governing, youthful, plainsman, energetic, and intelligent. I think I'll take him. And now this is our first settlement that we've taken in Farhad's territory. And again, one of the very cool things about playing Harad is that every new region you take opens up some new units for you, essentially, at least in your homelands or the surrounding area. And so we can see that we're going to get Footmen of Harad, Desert Skirmishers, so pretty straightforward stuff. At Tier 2, we're going to get some of our native guys, but then things are going to open up in a little more interesting way. So at Tier 3, we get our own Men of Farhad. So this is one of the local regional units, a very cool unit to add to our roster. Just, 1 or 2 in an army at most. To frighten the nearby enemy, and especially if you're fighting in the desert, of course. But it's just a fun bragging rights unit to have. They've got a powerful charge, good stamina, so they tend to be a little faster on the battle map, and very, very low defense. So you want to keep them back, but again, it's part of the fun of playing this big, sprawling, barbaric empire. Now, as for the army that we used to take Adabara, I think we're going to move it west. We've got plenty of armies in the east, I think, for what I need to do, and we can train more in Karasagar and get reinforcements from Karenbad if need be. But this army, I have some other plans for. Because yes, Rohan has started to become a bit of a problem to its west. Now, so far, Dunland has held them off fairly well. You can see that they still have their settlement of Dunkreok here in Lower Dunland, but they did lose the outpost of Dol Baran, and I'm afraid they're about to lose Dunfreka. Once that happens, it'll be very easy for Rohan to focus all of its energies along the northern stretch of the Eisen and then pour all those superior soldiers into Dunland. I don't want that to happen, and what I'd like to do, actually, is sort of recreate the alliance between the Corsairs and the Dunlandings during the Long Winter, during, Freka and Wolf's sort of little rebellion there. And so we're told there that, that Corsair fleets landed in the Lefnui, which I believe is this river, and the mouth of the Eisen as well. And so it's very interesting to imagine these Southrons disembarking this far north, but it seems that they did so. And so I'd like to make an alliance with Dunland and then bring a fleet up here to help control the expansion of Rohan into the west. I don't want them to get too big. I don't want them to get unmanageable. I want to lock them down before they can become a real threat. So Khan has sensed some weakness, and they're gathering forces in the settlement or the region that we've recently taken. It looks like they've besieged us at Alag Rokbin, and so we've got our guys sort of under siege here. Now, we did grab some mercenary Dragon Shield riders in the attempt to get a little bit of a fear effect and a little more melee presence, but I think we should be okay. If they decide to assault, we've got about even numbers. If they've got a lot of cav, the city isn't going to help them very much, although it's not going to help us either. But we've got more missile troops, I'm guessing, and we do have these guys to bring up as reinforcements if needed. However, I think it's time to see if we can do anything down here with the capital of Farhad. Let's see if they'll stay and fight. So since the large army is coming right out of the settlement, we've basically turned to face them and have entirely ignored this unit of 81 swordsmen. We'll see if they decide to relocate, but what I want to do is mostly get rid of this garrison force. All right, let's run these skirmishers forward. I think I don't use my skirmishers too well when I'm playing as Harad, because there's kind of a lot of other stuff to manage. You've got archers, you've got swordsmen, you've got a lot of cav and Mumikil, but I'll bring them forward with the idea that they can kind of run back. We'll see if we can maybe focus them on some of these Southron skirmishers, although they'll probably fire naturally. And it looks like the reinforcing swordsmen are approaching slowly towards us. The more of these Southron skirmishers we can get rid of, the better. I think we want to go right into these Southron spears. This is going to be a problem, maybe. Harad riders. They are going to catch our cav. Not much I can do about that. Let's send our bodyguard into those swords of Harad, and let's actually send our Mumikil after that unit. Maybe our general can deal with this. Yeah, their Desert Guard unit is a big problem, potentially. We'll see what they decide to do, where they're going to go. The Harad riders, you see, they are sticking around a bit longer than you would think. There they go. Okay, let's go here. Take out the general, if possible. And we've got our general fighting the Harad riders. I think we're going to be okay in that fight. It looks like we are chasing them away. Enemy generals fighting. I'll be surprised if we don't end up losing a family member here. Yep, speaking of family members, let's bring ours back. There goes the enemy general. Those swordsmen may be moving away, which means they may just be going back to the city. Let's see. If they are moving away, we're not going to catch them. Always unfortunate when you don't get the settlement in a battle like this. But we were fighting really close to the edge of the map. A lot of these guys are going to get away, so can't do too much about that. Yeah, they're going to get back in there. But now it's just 81 swordsmen inside the city. We'll put that under siege, and hopefully that'll draw down some of those large armies of Farhad. Alright, and we do have one of those small field armies bringing the battle to us, which is great news. We'll be able to hopefully take care of both of these in one blow. And this is Anorlith, so this is the one. This is one that we definitely want. It's not the capital yet, but we're getting there. And inside here, he's got a good mix of stuff, so let's see how this goes. So we've got a bit of a strange battlefield here where the city is off to our right. We're being attacked from the north. We've got this very big rock formation here, which is kind of annoying, I guess, although maybe I could make some strategic use of it. But the major army is coming from over there. I think my cavalry is going to be able to deal with these guys pretty easily. The Southron Champions are such a cool unit, but they're so bad in some ways. Especially when under the AI's control. So I think we're going to see a massive slaughter here in about a second. Yeah. So that's the end of them. Now, you know, you always feel bad because they're very neat, and situationally, they can be also really interesting. So we've got the usual, the enemy cav is charging at us. Now I'm most concerned, of course, about this desert guard, and we'll see how this works out. I think I'm going to move up my spearmen. Let's be a little proactive for once. Otherwise, you know, what we have to do is just wait for a good moment and then charge in. Let's do that with our cav. They're going to pick their own targets. All right. All right, I think that's actually going to work out just fine. Let's actually take them off group, though, because I want them to attack the Desert Guard. That is a pretty good unit. But if we mob it with cav, I think... Yeah. Yeah. Yes, indeed. That's what we want. And now we have to be a little careful because we've got a bunch of stuff coming. We've got cavalry, we've got other units. Alright, let's move this around. Swords of Harad. I think we'll be able to deal with these Hairdwaith riders. Our archers are going to take a beating for sure. But as you can see, I mean, you know, they're the lowest of the cav, and they are wavering, but there's just enough of them that they can really do a surprising amount of damage. So we'll take care of them, and then we'll just keep moving on. Very good. Anorlith has fallen to the might of our army. And yeah, I think we will lay desolate here. We just need to keep these armies moving. Anorlith actually might be a decent place for a military policy if we want to get these champions of Farhad, you know, up in this region without having to drag them all the way from the farthest reaches of the desert. There's not a great trade resource around here. In fact, we don't have anything that we're exporting, I think. Let's go ahead and get going then on provincial pacification. It'll keep everybody moving. And I think we're going to keep them moving kind of northeast because we are probably going to need to do some fighting around the region of Khand and with our other borders with Farhad. Now, with regard to policies, this is usually a decision you can defer for a little while because the different things you can build based on each policy don't really branch off until you get up to the urban province level or so. But in some cases, you may want to just get a policy started as soon as you can, just to kind of remind yourself what you're working towards in the settlement. And in Karasagar, I'm kind of thinking of going administrative. This is because I expect to be taking over, a lot of territory and kind of far-flung territories, and so having a province in the far east that is sort of set up for public order, law, those types of things could be very beneficial. If we take a look at the kind of buildings we can build, it'll tell us what policy is required for each. And again, those branches are only going to appear on the upper two tiers. Now, things like farms are going to be available everywhere. There's no policy requirement. But of course, things like military buildings at the higher tiers will require either open or military policy. Things like traders, caravan camps, open or financial. But then we get into things that are a little higher tier and it gets a little more interesting. So if we look at the healers, at the lower tiers, you could have, you could build your first tier herbalist anywhere, regardless of policy. But then the second tier is going to require either military or administrative, or of course open in a chief city. And then the only place you can build a highest tier hall of healing is if you have an admin policy. So that's going to give you public health modifiers and also potential to pick up some nice ancillaries. Similarly, Places of Mirth, you can build anywhere at Tier 1, but at Tier 2, you're going to have to basically have it in a financial or administrative place. Similarly, your Garden of Fountains, the higher tier courts and gardens building, is going to require that administrative policy unless you're in a chief settlement. Law enforcement also. So if you want the Inquisitor's Chambers, which is going to unlock some specialization buildings, you'll need admin. So it might be good to have an administrative policy in a settlement that's kind of far from your center. And as I expand, I imagine my capital is going to be moving sort of westward. Currently, by the way, I've set my capital at Akis Anabon. It initially starts off at Umbar City, which is fine for the early going, but kind of as soon as you think of it, you may want to switch it to someplace a little more geographically centrally located, because that's going to cut down on the distance to capital penalties for your settlements and not only improve public order, but also reduce that mismanagement, that corruption that eats into your income. All right, and we are being assaulted by an army of Khan. This is our newest acquisition, Alec Rokbin, and they are moving in. It looks like they've got just a family member and a bunch of low-tier infantry, relatively speaking. These very axemen are not too much of a problem, so I think we should be just fine. All right, so we're not going to wait around. We've got a cavalry superiority, I would say. Their bodyguard could get involved, and that could be a problem, but in my experience, it seems like usually the AI general during an assault is going to hang back until the gates get opened and captured. So we'll bring all of our horse archers out here and start doing some damage to them if we can. I think I'd like to move over in this direction first. We'll kind of get him from the unshielded side. I'm a little hesitant to bring out my actual general, but we also have some archers who are just set up here, and they've got pretty good range. These nomadic watchmen are going to fall pretty easily, as well as really all this other infantry. So we're just trying to cause some trouble for them, and we've got to take them off skirmish if we wanted to get out close to the enemy there. We're going to try not to get caught as well. There we go. And I think, yeah, I think I will keep my general inside. I'm just a little concerned that we're going to get into trouble if I don't. So we want to move up to the archers here, take them out first. Well, I don't think we need all that much, honestly. We can just focus on them with the heavy cav. This is a scary unit, and they're very expensive too. Okay, here comes the enemy general. Maybe what we can do now is actually focus on him. Okay, great. They're routing. We'll pull back. Maybe we can kind of get him close enough to the city to be shot up by my other archers, but he's probably going to catch my my dragon shield riders, I would think. Alright, everybody, see if we can focus on him. No, no, no. Yeah, we're already doing some damage, so this is a good start. Alright, archers focus. I feel like keeping the other horse archers over here, and he's also getting shot by the tower fire. So now we outnumber him, 21 to 17. He's still a strong unit, though, so I don't necessarily want to... Down to 14, very good. I don't know if the archers can actually hit him from there, so we'll pause. They can pick other targets. We'll take him past this tower and then sort of turn around and fight. And yeah, we're just doing fantastically. So we'll focus on, yeah, and I guess those nomadic watchmen. We'll run down the steppe archers. We've already routed them once before. They are going to catch us. Oh, we got the gate open. Let's turn around, see how this works out. Now, the Dragon Guard have maces as a melee weapon. Let's see if they're going to pull them out. I don't think so. The AI does not always use its secondary weapon, so it looks like they're still using lances here. Down to 5 men. 3 wavering. All right, it would be good to bring a horse archer unit over here just to chase him down. Yeah, because he's routing. They've got some guys in the city. But honestly... Alright, great. Okay, Variag Axemen, we don't have any more arrows in these units, but our Red Sand Archers have quivers still full, so we should be just fine there. Let's move our Intimidating Cataphracts a little bit closer. Get these guys away. And maybe it's time to get the General out of the city. You can do some damage to these Axemen. We do have a unit of Swords of Harad. Bring them over and they can start firing at these axes. Alright, I guess it's skirmish time again. He's got to be routing soon. 19 men wavering. There they go. And our swordsmen have seen off these axemen, so we should be getting the word. Oh no, we do have another unit somewhere in the city, right? Where are you? Right here. Alright, a full unit of nomadic watchmen. That's no trouble at all. We'll run our skirmishers up there, and we still got a bunch of arrows left. They may get there before we get up to the top of the hill, but I think it's going to be fine. Just in case, though, bring over the general, and we've got our other cavalry over here. These guys are going to be routing pretty quick. This is just nomadic watchmen. I really like the look of this unit, though. Just a very sort of simple aesthetic. I like it a lot. But they are the lowest of the low in terms of spearmen. Well, our footmen are probably the actual lowest of the low in terms of quality. We do have some swording skirmishers here. I think we can pretty much hit them. So we'll probably be able to get them to rout here. Wavering already? Yeah, there they go. Okay. Farhad is actually approaching us after that heroic victory against their ally, I think, Khan. And they want to cease fire, and they want us to give them a bunch of money. Well, I don't want that. But here's what I would accept. I would accept you becoming my protectorate, or vice versa, and I will give you a bunch of money. Now, there is one flaw here, and that is we don't have their settlement yet, their capital. We do need that for victory, but honestly, I think we can get that at some later date. I'm not too concerned there. Let's offer them 100,000 and see if they'll bite. Nah, I didn't think so. But it's good that they're approaching us with those offers at this point. Now, in sort of the northwest, I am watching things around Dunland, and so far, Dunland has managed to keep Rohan out of Dunland for the most part. They have lost this fort, but they've got these big armies that they're assembling, and that's the thing about Dunland. They can get a full stack together pretty quickly. But Dunfrecca has fallen to the Reunited Kingdom. Now, it doesn't look like they'll be able to hold it very well, so probably Rohan is going to ultimately end up with it. But we do need to keep an eye on this to make sure Rohan doesn't get too big. So one thing I'd like to try to do is get some alliances going on. And if we can look at the diplomacy here, Adunabar, we don't have any allies. Adunabar is allied with Dunland. They're allied with Khand, which is a bit of a problem, and they are also allied with North Rune. Dunland is allied only with Adunabar. So I'm not sure if I can even ally with Adunabar at this point. Let's see if it pops up as an option. No, it does not. So we've got our war with Khand that we would need to resolve first. But I'm going to get my emissary over a little bit closer, maybe in another turn or two. Actually, can I reach him right now? Yeah, we can. All right, so offer an alliance. And I would love map information. I don't even want any money from you. Oh, they don't want an alliance. Okay. Well, we'll see about that. We'll see how this ends up, because we're going to be up in your neighborhood. Don't you worry about it. We're going to defend you from Rohan, whether you like it or not. Now, we have defended Alagrokbin. We do have another army in the area. We're slowly training more swordsmen to add to it. And so I think I'll just keep that up. This army is kind of a deterrent. We also want to keep pushing back against Khand. We can take care of this force, though, I think. We've got enough units. We've got some mercenaries that we've just added. And so if we hit them, this is the new ruler of Farhad. So they've set up on this hill. They don't have many archers. They do have some skirmishers, though, so I want to be somewhat careful in my approach. And so I'm trying this thing of moving over to the flank of the AI's position, staying out of arrow range. And usually what they will do is reposition themselves to face where you are, as you see them doing there. And a lot of times, if you can sort of do this correctly, they will reposition themselves off the high ground. It's a bit of a cheesy tactic, I guess. But it doesn't always work. Sometimes, as you see here, they're actually rushing forward a little bit. We'll just ignore that. They only have the one archer, and we can easily focus all of our ranged guys on them. We are getting some hits with our mercenaries, but that's kind of what they're there for, right? All right, let's run everybody. This is possibly going to encourage them to attack us, but no, looks like they're moving back. And we'll run again. We really want to get up to the ground before they do. Even though that is costing us in some stamina. So let's take these cav and bring them over here. Oh, we've got the Southron champions. Okay, let's make that our target for sure. Make sure our swords are on fire at will. Let's give them some targets here. Southron champions are losing heavily. We got to shore up the left. Yeah, this is their king, so they are doing fairly well. They've routed our plainsmen skirmishers, which is no surprise. But we are doing some damage to them. We've got our Spearmen of the Serpent, and we do have our Umbar Guard, or our Palace Guard, rather. Alright, here we've got all of our cavalry finished. Alright, their cavalry's having a bit of a tough time picking targets here. Palace Guard is definitely the more dangerous unit. Speaking of dangerous units, though, these Southron skirmishers could be a big problem for my general. So I want to pull him out of that. My infantry, though, is perfectly welcome to engage in that manner. Let's keep moving our general through. Okay. All right, we're doing some good ranged stuff against their general, although our swords get completely surrounded and routed. Their Desert Guard is winning easily. All right, are we done here? We're done with this fight, so let's come back. Hit these Southron skirmishers. It's kind of a mess here. They're going after our skirmishers. I'm happy to let them do that. All right, let's get the general away. We've got a big problem here. Desert Footmen winning. Are we stuck in corpses? Yeah, looks like we're stuck in some corpses. That's great. Okay, our cavalry's all chasing these red sand archers. Let's pull back in this direction. Somebody's heading for the hills. That would be their general. Let's bring our cavalry over to intercept. I don't know if we can, though. We're so close to the edge of the map. So he's going to most likely escape. These Swords of Harad are going to just block for him, which is super annoying. Yep, he's gone. All right, bring the cavalry back to deal with those swords. Bring my general over here to deal with these guys. We've got a lot going on there. What do we have? It's our swords. It's our corsairs versus skirmishers and swords of their faction. Our unit's just routed. All right, their general is gone, and we just did a nice charge into the back of those Southern skirmishers. But look, they're winning easily. They're going to inflict some losses on us here. Yep, there they go. All right, we need to come back and focus on basics, like just charging in the back. Our palace guard is routing. That's never a good sign. Alright, but this should be the end. Just look at how long those Southron skirmishers lasted. They're like a tier 1 or 2 unit. I can't exactly remember. But there were like 26 of them. That's something like a third of their unit size. And they didn't rout until very late there. So good for them. This is a very sloppy fight, but sometimes these attacks when the AI has a good position, and honestly, all of their units are getting combat bonuses in the desert. Only a couple of ours do. Harad is not necessarily a desert faction. Only some of its units get that benefit. But that accomplished one of the goals in that we eliminated a large-ish army. This has 5 more seasons. I'm just going to let it stay. I'm not going to assault this. 72 Swords of Harad. We'll just keep that as it is. I'm going to keep pursuing this, and I'd like to kill that family member. I know there's a family member here, so we know, for example, that this is just a sword unit. That's the faction leader. This is not any family member, so you may think, well, geez, are you worried you're going to eliminate Farhad before you can make them a Protectorate? Well, not really, because this unit, although we don't know what it is, if you have an emissary, you can do this. And we can see that, okay, we're engaging with this guy, Umar of Athenkaris. Otherwise, it would show up as the settlement, like I'll show you here. Right? So there's no family member in there. So there's a family member here. There's one. Now, actually, I probably don't want to kill this guy because, as far as we know, there's only 2 family members in this entire faction. So, yeah, we probably want to be a little more careful here. I don't see any other armies of Farhad. So we just need to now be in the phase of putting these 2 settlements under siege. But for that very bloody battle, Emir of Umbar North got the retinue Champion of Harad, which is excellent, especially for a Southron faction. +3 to troop morale and a 10% decrease to troop training cost. Okay, we are being attacked now by Khand. This is a field battle. They can see our army sort of encroaching on, well, it's Farhad's territory technically, but they don't want to let that stand. So this is showing up as fairly even, and it is going to be, well, it is going to be a little bit of a strange one. They've got a lot more cav than I do, so this is going to be potentially dangerous. And several of their cav units are horse archers. Some of them, though, are the more charge-oriented Variag riders, including their captain unit. And they have a lot of archers. I don't. So while in terms of melee, infantry versus infantry, we're going to do quite well, they could do some good stuff with their cav, and that could be a big problem. So I don't have really good ground here. As you can see, it's all fairly flat, and they have the high ground. So this is where I'm set up. I've got my my archers kind of in the middle. We've got the swords and spears out front, and then we've got the skirmishers out way front. But the Corsairs are in the back row, and I want to keep them kind of away from the arrows, is essentially the thinking there. And over on the left is where I've got my cav. We've got a couple of family members here for horse archers, following them up with some horsemen of the Harnan for if we get into some melee, and then the general back in the center. So they're going to come on, and they're probably going to shoot at us for a while, so we're going to have to be a little careful about this. If I can use my archers well and take out, enough of their horse archers, then we could do quite well. They're going to try to do some fancy maneuvering, though. Let's see. Let's move a little quickly here. Okay, I don't think they're going to try to outflank us anymore. We're already within firing range, which is great. I'm just going to let them pick their targets. These are all perfectly valid targets, as far as I'm concerned, Steppe Outriders. And the Desert Skirmishers can just soak the arrows. Sorry, guys. Now behind, I can see they're bringing in the Variag Riders. I just don't have a whole lot I can do about that. I mean, I can bring my my Spearmen over, That'll tie them up slightly. If my swords can get off a volley, that would be very nice. And if we're going to have this kind of fight, you know, we could... these spears are going to be gone very soon. Just look at that. They're just taking a ton of friendly fire. But if they're going to push on through, then I will bring my Corsairs around to engage, because I think they're going to do well against these infantry. We also have the benefit of fear. As you can see, these units, once they engage, are pretty quick to rout. Yeah, you go for those Variag Axemen, I guess. And let's go take the fight sort of aggressively. We don't want those Variag Riders to be getting too many charges off. The other thing I should be wary of is they do still have a lot of horse archers. So we'll change the focus to them now. These guys can still fire at some stuff, so they're performing some function. But I want to be a little careful, because they're also vulnerable. Alright, great, we got him. But look at all the infantry they've got now to pile on in. If I can get some good routes happening here. Yes, that worked. But now we got to pull him back. Alright, everybody, got to be careful. Don't go too far ahead. Corsairs, may as well bring them in. They're getting shot up anyway. Okay, I guess these step-out riders would be good. The captain's come back. He's potentially going to rout these swords. We just have a lot of arrow fire to deal with. And I'm a little reluctant to get my my generals in there because of that. If we had a little more cav, I would feel better. Okay, here we go. I think it's time. We've got some of their outriders moving. We've got their center basically routing. Oh, they've got Archers of Khan back here. Very cool unit. Always like to see that in the field. But all these guys should be pretty susceptible to morale problems. I would like to think. We are getting into melee. They're not routing as quickly as I would like. Alright, let's just focus on the infantry for now. We'll worry about the horse archers last. Finally, we got to take care of those archers routing, and we'll just keep moving over to the right. Alright, great. Oh, good. Very, very messy fight against Khan. But, you know, when they bring a lot of archers, as they tend to do, that is what you get. Oh, and they want more. Not had enough. Alright, this is going to be more of the same, I'm afraid. So we'll see if this is really worth showing. It may be kind of interesting. They've got a little more aggressive lineup this time, not quite as many archers. It does look like a pretty big force, though, when it's all spread out like that. A lot of these are nomadic watchmen. They've also got you know, a couple of units of the Variag Riders, and so this could be a problem for my melee units. But I think what I'm going to do is just we're going to treat this kind of like a charge situation. We'll see if they allow that, though. They certainly want their nomadic watchmen to go over this way, but I think we can risk a frontal charge against them. They're going to be under a bunch of arrow fire. They don't have a family member leading them. Just a captain. Broken already. Very good. And now we'll just swing around to the back there. Send the spearmen in, and really everybody at this point. Let's hit those Variags, actually. We'll worry about the archers later. And I want my general to get in on this. We are chasing them. We are in a bit of danger because they do have quite a lot of step outriders still. So those guys are shooting back at us. General's only got 10 men left in the unit. Alright, we are going to catch them, or at least push them into a rout. Our poor army, though. This was not quite a full stack, but it was a much more respectable one. We had, what, a couple, 3 full units of swords? Basically gone now. Well, the good news is that should really be the last we see of Khan for a little while. And the other good news is in the west, we have assembled a full stack that is ready to take to the ships. We do have just a couple of boats here, Corsair Dromond and a Corsair Marauder. It might be nice to have more, potentially, but I think that should be fine. But I think the lesson we've learned with regard to fighting Khan is that you always want more archers. And so we've had 4. They've been okay, but I think we could do with 6 in an army. That just seems a little more reasonable. Also, we've got these scraps of Corsairs left, down to just very low numbers. I'm going to bring them over to Umbar to get retrained. I know that that's going to be a very long trip, but once we get back there, it's just going to be a single turn to get them all trained up and then added to another unit. That makes a nice little bonus for us. And it looks like we are going to encounter a bit of resistance on our trek around Gondor's coasts with our army here. Oh, we've got a bunch of ships. This should be good, though. We'll be able to take out some of these ships. Maybe not completely, but certainly knock them back a bit. None of these fleets have armies on them. And in fact, some of them are just the wrecked remnants of fleets that we've already defeated. There's that Palaran we beat. Nice. So a good start to the fleet here. And here's our army under Elowahabi of Lokand. So he's competent. We'll see how his skills improve as he enters the lands of Dunland and Rohan. All right, Farhad again bothering us for a ceasefire. Now, we do have some armies that are positioned around their territories. So, you know, I'll give him another shot. I'll give him a bunch of money. We'll demand overlordship. In fact, yeah, let's go for 100 grand again. No, not yet. Not yet. We're getting closer, though, I think. All right, we're going to move over and put Alagos under siege. It's sort of skipping a step because we don't have Naur Imloth, but I think this is the better move. In part because this is a settlement with only a single family member inside. We could assault immediately if we wanted to just verify that. Yeah, here is the heir. So we're not going to attack Rate yet. He probably won't sally out at this point either. But maybe this will get this guy moving in a different direction. The other thing I'm considering is putting Naur Imloth under siege. Alright, same type of situation, but now we'll try for Protectorate. We'll see if they'd be more interested in that. Accept overlordship, offer 100 grand. And no, not yet. Now, we'll probably get attacked next season by this army. If so, I'm going to withdraw, I think. I don't want to fight that one out because I don't want to actually get this settlement. I need this and this to be in the hands of Farhad to serve as a buffer against Khan. So that's the plan there. But importantly, Parcharab has just finished its first military building, which means we can train our own Parcharab tribesmen. Very cost effective. 90 soldiers, 70 upkeep. They get a bonus fighting riders and a combat bonus both in woods and in deserts, which is very unusual. You don't often see that sort of combination, which is just fantastic. It means they can work pretty much anywhere on the map. Long-range missiles, good stamina, can hide in long grass. So two-handed spears, just a great unit. I'm going to train a bunch of these guys. Now, they will get better as we level up the city. So that is the other thing I'm going to queue up here. We're going to get going on our minor province so we can keep adding to that value of that unit. We were not attacked by Farhad, and only one more season remains before their capital falls. They're not going to be able to get to us. I don't think they have anything else in the area. So we're just going to take that on a default, and then we'll see what they do. We're getting bullied by these Palarans who are running around and destroying some of our fleets, but that's okay. I think we will manage in the end because we do have a couple of pairs of Corsair marauders coming up the coast. And yeah, Athencaris falls without a fight. Very sad. We are going to lay desolate to that, and that now means that what we could do if we think we can't get Farhad as a protectorate is we could theoretically accept a ceasefire from them, start trading for a while, and then repeat the process at a later date. The only reason I'm hesitant to do that is because if we accept a ceasefire with them, we know that Harandor is going to be sniffing around looking for an alliance with them, and then when Farhad attacks us, as they no doubt will at some point, Harandor, our current vassal, will side with them and get out of our overlordship. So I don't want to necessarily go that route just yet, but it is a possibility. The other thing we could do is, if they're going to be really stubborn about protectorate status, is just leave them alone for a while. We could just back off, stay at war, and then just get them at a later date. But let's see what our new settlement has for us. They've got hosting halls in here, so we're going to be able to make some money back. Very nice. And this is a chief city, of course, which means it's got that blue banner, and you can build everything. And it's already got a bunch of stuff built, and we can make use of these things. We do benefit from libraries as a Southeron faction. We are a cultured men of the South. We have the Court of Archers and the Execution Square. So we get all kinds of bonuses to law and happiness at our disposal. I think I will go ahead and get going on Dominion here as well. We'll lower the taxes, and that should help things in the long run. We're working on that over here, only one season in fact. So pretty soon we're going to be making great use of our Farhad settlements. And in Harandor, we are working up the military tree also. We're already getting close to finishing hosting halls, which is going to give us, Spearmen of the Serpent, our Plainsman Mounted Skirmishers, which we haven't really used much, Archers of Harad, and Horsemen of the Harnan. So Tier 3 is a fairly elite tier, really. But Tier 4 is what I'm after. So when that comes online, it's going to be a lot of fun indeed. But now that Athencaris has fallen, we can try diplomatically again. I don't think they're going to go for protectorate status. They've still got an army in the field, even though it's literally one guy and like 3 archers. But let's give it a shot. Accept overlordship, offer money, and let's offer a lot more this time. 192,000. It's completely ridiculous. They're going to say no. So, and again, I think that's because they've got an army out in the field. So what we're going to have to do then is either wipe out this unit, which I don't want to do, or slowly, gradually, annoyingly push them back into Nar Imloth, and it's going to take a little while. So I'm going to actually withdraw from that city, and we're going to make that our goal. We're just going to push them back into the city and eventually see if they'll take it. We're getting a little bit of revenge here on those fleets. Let's see if we can keep that going. Oh, yeah. These Marauders, they do just last a really long time. But given that this is a tougher Palaran and the balance of power doesn't look so great, I think I'm going to bring up some help this time. We've got a couple of fresh Marauders. Should definitely push things back in our favor. Again, we're not going to sink it, so that's why you got to leave some guys down south. Our fleet is rounding the coast of Andrast, and so we will have a decision to make once we get a little farther north. Do we want to go on the north side of the Eisen or on the south of it and move east through Old Pukul land to sort of storm up into Dunfrecca? That might be an interesting approach. Oh, excellent. It looks like the family member who was outside has actually moved back in to the city. So that means we can put it under siege. We do not necessarily have a very strong force here, but I'll do that anyway. And we'll bring these guys right up behind, and then we'll sort of mix and match the armies together. Now we've got both of these settlements under siege, we can start looking around for emissaries of Farhad and see if we can get a deal. Here's one. Let's see if they're any more amenable to this. We'll offer single payment, and I don't think we would need to go for all of our money. Let's go for 150,000 because they don't have any armies in the field. There we go, our second protectorate. We have 2 overlordships established, one with Farhad in the east of our territory and one with Harandor to the north. Let's take a look at that beautiful diplomacy screen. Yes, we do. 2 overlordships. Very good. So now we are no longer at war with Khand. We will need to remedy that because, as we know, Khand is, Khand could be the fly in the ointment here. Khand is allied with Farhad still, so if they attack us, we lose that protectorate. Now, I don't know if we can actually attack them, unfortunately, because we do have a problem here of zone of control issues. The game is a little confused. It doesn't recognize that we actually do have military access. All right, so let's hope Khand doesn't attack us in this season. All right, it looks like they are moving an army close to us in Alagrokbin. But we can hit them. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do that with just a single unit of cav. Will automatically resolve. And as you can see, Khand and Farhad are now no longer allies. We, of course, lost that battle. Doesn't matter. The main thing is now we still have our overlordships, and Farhad has only us as an ally. And what does our income look like, by the way? Oh, it's up above 200,000, 236,000, and 89 million to be exact. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So where do we go from here, folks? Well, I think what we will do is probably try to put an end to the problem with Khand. Now, this is a bit of a sticky situation because on the one hand, I would really like a Karn for myself. I wouldn't mind having it. On the other, probably the easiest thing to do here is just to give this to Farhad and call it a day. Just back off, and then we can bring all of our armies home and decide what to do with them next. We could completely end our wars in the region if we want. I don't know that there's anything that I would really want to develop too badly in Khandian territories anyway. As you can see, we're not going to get any assimilation units out of this. We're not going to get anything super high tier that belongs to Khand. We're going to get step outrider levies at best. And they are a very nice unit to have, but I'm not sure that they're strictly necessary. So maybe we'll leave the East for a little while, and probably when we come back in the next episode, you'll see that I have indeed gifted Alagrokbin to Farhad and made peace with Khand. Now, once we make peace with Khand and no longer share a border, we don't really need to worry about what they're going to do. They're not going to be able to attack us in any way. And so if Farhad wants to ally with them at that point, that could be fine as far as I'm concerned. We would just have basically a completely sealed off wall of territory, and now we're free to pursue our other aim. We've been doing an excellent job holding off the Reunited Kingdom. They haven't even landed any armies on our islands or our coasts, and we've kept up the pressure. We've had a few setbacks, in a mild sense with their navies, but we've come back with our marauders and our dromons and managed to drive them to the shore. We do have our army rounding the coast here, and I think it's a perfect time for us to make landfall. Let's go into the southern part of the Eisen. We're going to land just south of Lymphalis. And now here we are on foreign territory. This is actually held by the Reunited Kingdom, and so we'll begin our march inland. No mercenaries to be had, but the plan is we'll march upriver and see what trouble we can get into around here. I hope you'll join me for the next phase of our How to Harad. Take care until then.